In Farlight 84, each hero has unique skills and roles. Whether it's agile movement, strong control, or high damage, every hero offers something special to battle. This guide will provide a detailed analysis of each hero's core abilities, talent effects, and the best way to use them in battle. We'll introduce each hero's characteristics and mechanisms to help you showcase your skills. Momoi. Momoi is a support hero who excels at providing protection and mobility support for her squad mates. Her first ability is Fractal Joy Lift. It allows her to transform into her pet dinosaur Ducksyde, who has his own health points. After Ducksyde's health reaches 0 or the transformation duration expires, she exits the transformation state. Squad mates can board Ducksyde and she can swallow down squad mates and move them. After upgrading the first trait, Ducksyde's health increases. With the second trait point, when Ducksyde jumps into the air, holding the button allows it to enter flight mode, depleting the energy bar. Her second ability is Power Up. It summons her pet dinosaur Shieldy, who deploys a 3-sided shield capable of blocking bullets. The shield has its own durability. When the durability is depleted or Shieldy is knocked down, the shield disappears. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Power Up is reduced. With the second trait point, Shieldy can deploy an additional Power Up field that continuously regenerates the shield. Her ultimate ability is Pummel All. It summons her powerful pet dinosaur Punchy at the target location. It automatically seeks enemies around her, performing a 3-stage melee attack and shooting fireballs at distant enemies. Using the skill again teleports Punchy back to her. Holding down the skill button retrieves Punchy early. If she's knocked down during Punchy's appearance, Punchy enters a berserk state and gains enhanced effects. After upgrading the first trait, Punchy's damage increases. With the second trait point, the gift box thrown when summoning Punchy deals damage and slows down nearby enemies. Beau. Beau's first ability is Eye of Detonation. He throws an Eye of Detonation that attaches to surfaces. After the explosion, it causes a massive area explosion, dealing substantial damage and generating a shockwave that knocks back both enemies and Beau. When holding the Crown of Retribution, the Eye of Detonation deals higher damage. After upgrading the first trait, the blast range of Eye of Detonation increases. After upgrading the second trait, it applies a vulnerability effect to enemies within range, and if Beau is within the blast range, he gains a damage reduction effect. Beau's second ability is Thunder Shockwave. He throws a shock grenade, dealing damage and stunning enemies within the explosion radius, while also applying a suppression effect to summons in the area. When holding the Crown of Retribution, the duration of the shock effect is extended. After upgrading the first trait, the damage dealt by Thunder Shockwave increases. With the second trait point, the Shockwave grenade splits into several smaller grenades upon explosion, which subsequently explode, dealing damage and causing a shock effect again. Beau's ultimate ability is Vengeance Bomb. He chooses 2 coordinates to unleash an unblockable bombardment, dealing damage to enemies within the area. When holding the Crown of Retribution, the bombing coverage area is larger. With the first trait point, the cooldown time for Vengeance Bomb is reduced. With the second trait point, Beau can choose an additional coordinate to launch a bombing. Ducksyde. Ducksyde's first ability is Rolling Impact. He inflates his holster into a ball, allowing him to roll quickly on the ground. When rolling at high speed, hitting an enemy deals a small amount of damage and knocks them back. In the rolling state, Ducksyde reduces damage. However, if the accumulated damage reaches a certain level, the inflation breaks and Ducksyde exits the rolling state. After upgrading the first trait, the damage reduction ability while in the inflated state increases. With the second trait point, when Ducksyde enters the rolling state, his current weapon automatically reloads. Ducksyde's second ability is Full Speed Charge. He charges at high speed, leaving an acceleration device behind, which boosts the movement speed of allied units passing through. After upgrading the first trait, the device's acceleration effect significantly increases. After upgrading the second trait, allies who come into contact with the acceleration device gain a temporary shield. Ducksyde's ultimate ability is Summit Crush. He leaps forward and slams into the ground with great force. The shockwave deals damage to enemies within the landing area, knocks back enemies within an inner circle, and inflicts a slowdown effect on enemies within an outer circle. After upgrading the first trait, the impact damage of Summit Crush increases. With the second trait point, if Ducksyde hits an enemy, he gains a temporary shield. Freddie. Freddie's first ability is Spectral Trap. He releases a decoy that moves in a specified direction. When the decoy reaches its maximum control distance, it enters alert mode. Freddie can destroy the current body using the skill button and transfer consciousness to the decoy. If the decoy is destroyed, it automatically scans and marks nearby enemies. With the first trait point, the cooldown of Spectral Trap is reduced. With the second trait point, the decoy can use E-Net in sync with the main body, increasing the skill's chain control ability. Freddie's second ability is E-Net. He throws a blocking ball with an E-Net. Enemies that come into contact with the E-Net are trapped within the blocked area and cannot move. After upgrading the first trait, the duration of confinement significantly increases. With the second trait point, the released E-Net can return to Freddie's position, making the skill more flexible and easier to recover and reuse. Freddie's ultimate ability is Backup. He releases a clone in place. While the clone is active, Freddie is granted acceleration and he can transfer his consciousness to the clone. If Freddie's main body is knocked down, his consciousness is automatically transferred to the clone. After upgrading the first trait, the active time of the clone significantly extends. With the second trait point, when the main body is knocked down and consciousness is transferred to the clone's health increases, making it harder to be knocked down. Maychelle. Maychelle's first ability is Sonic Tracking. She releases a fan-shaped spread of sound waves forward, tracking and revealing the location of enemies within range, exposing their movements to squad mates. With the first trait point, the cooldown of Sonic Tracking is reduced. With the second trait point, when the squad mate approaches a revealed enemy, their movement speed increases. Maychelle's second ability is Sonic Wave. She throws mini-speakers that automatically attach to surfaces and continuously emit sound waves from both sides. Sonic waves can penetrate walls, dealing damage to enemies within range. With the first trait point, the damage dealt by the mini-speakers increases. With the second trait point, when the sonic wave hits enemies, it applies a sound barrier effect, temporarily blocking their auditory perceptions and adding interference noise. Maychelle's ultimate ability is Ongoing Show. She raises a rock stage at the chosen location. The stage is surrounded by one-way barriers that block enemy bullets while allowing squad mates' bullet to penetrate. Squad mates can jump onto the stage for battle by clicking the jump button below it. With the first trait point, the durability of one-way barrier on stage significantly increases. With the second trait point, the rock stage gains an elastic enhancement effect, allowing squad mates to jump higher when on the stage. Nightwatch. Nightwatch's first ability is Sheriff's Patrol. He summons a mechanical sheriff who stands guard at the designated location and automatically attacks any enemies within the alert range. Nightwatch can command the sheriff to change guard positions or long press the skill button to recall them. After upgrading the first trait, the damage dealt by sheriff increases. With the second trait point, the sheriff's attacks slow down enemies' hit, further enhancing its control abilities. Nightwatch's second ability is Sentinel Drone. He directs Sentinel Drone to the designated location for scouting. Once enemies are detected, the drone rushes towards them and initiates its self-destruct sequence. The shockwave caused by the self-destruction slows down enemies and reveals their location. When his drone is flying, Nightwatch and his squad mates can grab onto it and travel a short distance. With the first trait point, Nightwatch's acceleration effect when moving towards the tracked target is enhanced. With the second trait point, the Sentinel drone becomes invisible while in the scouting mode, making it harder for enemies to detect. Nightwatch's ultimate ability is Rampage Mode. He triggers the mechanical sheriff's fighting mode, during which the sheriff unlocks the missile module and gains extra armor. Additionally, the explosion damage of the Sentinel drone increases and the cooldown time of Sheriff Patrol is significantly reduced. During Rampage mode, the new Sheriff and drone summoned by Nightwatch automatically receive enhanced effects. With the first trait point, the cooldown of Rampage mode is reduced, allowing Nightwatch to enter the enhanced state more quickly. With the second trait point, Nightwatch's movement speed increases when activating Rampage mode. Phantom. Phantom's first ability is Origami Trap. She throws an origami trap. When the trap senses enemies approaching, it deals damage over time to nearby enemies and inflicts them with slowdown and vulnerability effects. Enemies hit by the trap take increased damage when attacked by Phantom. With the first trait point, the slowdown effect of the trap significantly increases. With the second trait point, Phantom gains an additional origami trap slot, allowing her to set more traps simultaneously. Phantom's second ability is Clear Sight Grenade. She throws a scanning grenade to acquire the positions of enemies around the landing board. Enemies detected by grenades take increased damage when attacked by Phantom. After upgrading the first trait, the scouting range of Clear Sight Grenade significantly increases. With the second trait point, if the grenade fails to scan any enemies, Phantom refunds part of the skill cooldown time. Phantom's ultimate ability is Phantom Trick. She activates her optic camo, becoming invisible for a period of time and granting herself and nearby squadmates acceleration. During invisibility, Phantom can use skills and resupply. After upgrading the first trait, the invisibility duration of Phantom Trick significantly extends. With the second trait point, Phantom gains a degree of damage reduction upon activating stealth, enhancing survivability. Maggie. Maggie's first ability is Jet Flash. She uses the jetpack for horizontal movement, quickly traversing obstacles or enemies on the battlefield. With the first trait point, Jet Flash can travel further. With the second trait point, Maggie can store an additional Jet Flash, extending the skill's cooldown time but providing greater mobility. Maggie's second ability is Jet Leap. She uses the jetpack for vertical movement, quickly leaping upwards to avoid obstacles or enemies. With the first trait point, the cooldown time for Jet Leap is reduced. With the second trait point, Maggie can sense the approximate direction of nearby enemies, providing more informational support for combat. Maggie's ultimate ability is Thermal Frenzy. She overloads the jetpack, reducing the cooldown time of tactical skills and gaining a temporary shield. After upgrading the first trait, the duration of Thermal Frenzy significantly extends. With the second trait point, during Thermal Frenzy, Maggie gains a temporary shield and a shield's duration refreshes upon knocking down enemies or achieving assists. Lucinda. Lucinda's first ability is Interstellar Leap. She leaps into the air, entering a brief hover state. When using Shadow Inferno or Absolute Gravity in the air, Lucinda significantly slows her descent. After upgrading the first trait, the jump height of Interstellar Leap increases. With the second trait point, during Interstellar Leap, Lucinda automatically marks enemies within her line of sight. Lucinda's second ability is Shadow Inferno. She throws an incendiary bomb that deals continuous damage to enemies within the flames. After upgrading the first trait, the damage dealt by Shadow Inferno increases. With the second trait point, Lucinda continuously regenerates health within the burning area. Lucinda's ultimate ability is Absolute Gravity. She throws a card device that creates a mini black hole. A black hole forms after a short period, continuously pulling enemies within this range towards the center. With the first trait point, the cooldown time of Absolute Gravity is reduced. With the second trait point, the black hole continuously deals damage to enemies within the area. MKR. MKR is a fast-moving offensive hero capable of maneuvering flexibly across the battlefield for efficient strikes and scouting. His first ability is Jet Flash. This is an ability that has not been updated yet. The first and second upgrades bring along quicker cooldown and further distance. His second ability is Fatal Volley. It summons a secret weapon that automatically fires rockets, bombing a designated area and causing massive damage. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time for Fatal Volley is reduced. With the second trait point, the damage of Fatal Volley increases, resulting in higher damage output in battle. His ultimate ability is Sky Roaming. It deploys a high-energy launch device, propelling him into the air and re-entering a parachuting state. When relaunching, he can scan and mark enemy information within a certain range. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Sky Roaming is reduced. With the second trait point, the launch height and distance of the catapult device increase, providing a broader view and better strategic positioning. Syfer. Syfer is a hero skilled in spatial manipulation and scouting, capable of quickly obtaining enemy information and disrupting their defenses. Her first ability is Cohort Shift. It allows her to throw an EMP device and teleport to the coordinates where the device is located. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown of Quartz Shift is reduced. With the second trait point, the maximum distance of Quartz Shift increases, providing a larger movement range. Her second ability is Area Analysis. It deploys an information scouting network to obtain the positions of enemies within a certain range. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown of Area Analysis is reduced. With the second trait point, the scanning range, activation speed, and duration of Area Analysis are enhanced. Her ultimate ability is Overclocked Pulse. It releases an EMP, damaging the shields of enemies within range and disabling their skills. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown of Overclocked Pulse is reduced. With the second trait point, the shield reduction capability of Overclocked Pulse is enhanced, increasing its suppression effect on enemies. Yong. Yong is a highly mobile scouting hero who can mark enemies and provide the entire team with a vision advantage through drones. His first ability is Jet Flash. This is an ability that has not been updated yet. The first and second upgrades bring along quicker cooldown and further distance. His second ability is Blinding Mark. It uses tactical scope to emit a scanning beam, marking enemies within the forward range and causing them to slow down briefly. When the marked enemy is attacked by an ally, the mark is broken, and the enemy's vision is temporarily obscured. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown of Blinding Mark is reduced. With the second trait point, the detection radius for a Blinding Mark increases, and the duration of the obstruction effect after the mark is destroyed is extended. His ultimate ability is Defouch. It activates tactical recon goggles and enters drone surveillance view. During activation, he can move the drone to designate a scouting area and to activate intermittent scans of the selected area, providing the entire team with enemy location information. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time for Default is reduced. With the second trait point, the duration of enemy vision increases, providing a longer period of informational advantage. Ceanna. Ceanna is a support-type hero skilled in rapid movement and providing healing and shield restoration for her squad mates. Her first ability is Jet Flash. This is an ability that has not been updated yet. The first and second upgrades bring along quicker cooldown and further distance. Her second ability is Restoration Field. It deploys a recovery device that provides healing and shield repair to squad mates within range. Recovery devices can be destroyed by enemies. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of the Restoration Field is reduced. With the second trait point, the Restoration Field provides enhanced healing and shield restoration speed. Her ultimate ability is Mediax. It deploys a small drone beside each squad mate, providing them with healing and rescue. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Mediax is reduced. With the second trait point, Mediax's healing range is enhanced, covering more squad mates. Sunil. Sunil is a tactical support hero that can provide buffs to his squad mates through mobility skills and hologram guide. His first ability is Jet Flash. This is an ability that has not been updated yet. The first and second upgrades bring along quicker cooldown and further distance. His second ability is Springboard. It deploys a springboard that ejects the user into the air, achieving rapid vertical displacement. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Springboard is reduced. With the second trait point, the user can perform an additional jump in mid-air after using the springboard, increasing mobility. His ultimate ability is Hologram Guide. It summons the Hologram Guidance system, dispelling all negative effects from squad mates and granting them immunity. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown of Hologram Guide is reduced. With the second trait point, the benefits of Hologram Guide are enhanced, extending the duration of immunity, acceleration, and damage bonus effects. Captain. Captain is a hero who excels in both defense and mobility, skilled at using protective devices to safeguard squad mates and control enemies. His first ability is Jet Flash. This is an ability that has not been updated yet. The first and second upgrades bring along quicker cooldown and further distance. His second ability is Barrier Deployment. It releases a specially designed protective device that generates a spherical energy barrier at the designated location. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Aqua Blast is reduced. With the second trait point, the damage of Aqua Blast increases, making it more threatening in combat. His ultimate ability is Aqua Blast. It allows him to shoot high-pressure water at enemies, causing damage and slowing their movement. After upgrading the first trait, the cooldown time of Aqua Blast is reduced. With the second trait point, the damage of Aqua Blast increases, making it more threatening in combat. Mastering each hero's skills and understanding their strength is crucial for achieving victory in Farlight 84. By deeply understanding each hero's unique abilities, you can make smarter decisions as the battle unfolds, enhancing your team's overall effectiveness. Whether it's delivering precision strikes, providing team support, or executing swift maneuvers, choosing the right heroes and using their skills wisely will help you gain an advantage in intense battles and lead your team to victory. Remember, the situation on the field changes quickly. By adapting and planning your moves carefully, you can shine in the highly competitive world of Farlight 84. We hope that with the help of this guide, you will be able to fully unlock your hero's potential in every battle, gaining mastery over the game and achieving the ultimate success. See you in Farlight 84. May Farlight be with you.